Welcome to Your Motherhood Matters, where we invite you to join the momversation and go beneath the surface.
Each week, we dive in as we have real and personal talks about what matters to your motherhood. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Your Motherhood Matters. We're coming here from quarantine 2020.
I'm Jenn.
I'm Melissa, and today we're going to talk about something that I've seen a lot on the messaging boards, how to deal with it working at home. Jenn and I have both worked at home, both with kids and without, and we are here to offer all of our expertise, any tips that we have, and above all, we're offering you sympathy because this is not easy. And just as a side note, I think we need to do a mental health check-in because we've all been quarantined for probably like a couple weeks. Realistically, we've all been spending a lot of times indoors, and it seems like the longer it happens, the less that you can actually do, because where we are in Canada, the parks are closed and the walking trails are closed, and children still need to exert all that energy. It's not warm enough to be out in our pools or, outside for hours and hours and hours. So in reality, this is stressful. This is hard. This is not easy. This is not just sitting on your couch. It's dealing with your children, dealing with their stress, dealing with your stress and your fears. So just hang in there, moms. Like, this is not easy. The fact that so many of you are also expected to be working during this time, like, we need to reframe the expectations right now. Number one, health and happiness of your family, especially mental health, and just staying safe, staying sane. So, when it comes to work, you just need to give yourself grace at this time. This is not normal working conditions. This is not normal homeschooling conditions. Nothing here is normal. So you need to reframe your expectations and set some goals that are actually going to be attainable during this time.
Definitely, because a lot of families who homeschool becomes an opportunity for a lot of rich, in-depth, hands-on learning experiences, and homeschool isn't done in isolation. So I really want to hit that point home, that homeschooling is not normally done in isolation, quarantine conditions. It's usually a life choice for families that they make when they choose to, some people call it unschool as opposed to homeschool. So when people choose to unschool their children, what they're doing is they're often part of a larger homeschool or unschool community where they do face-to-face meetups. Normally the unschooling experience would be, instead of reading a textbook about dinosaurs, you're going to go to the museum and see the dinosaurs. So it's a lot of rich, in-depth learning experiences. And it's also important to know that homeschooling is not meant to be done the way traditional public school or private school is, where, your children are in the classroom from 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. So it's their day is structured differently. Your children do not need to have 6 hours a day. So one thing that I've seen coming up is a lot of color-coded, Pinterest-worthy charts. So if you're a Myers-Briggs person, Melissa, I made her do the Myers-Briggs. She's an ENFJ, and I'm an ISFP. So the J on the end means that you do like structure and schedule, and that you can be a step-by-step person, organized. And me, for P, I'm more of a play person. Like, I like to have freedom. I like to have flexibility in my schedule. So as though I do have some level of organization, but I like to have the freedom. So it's important to know too, like, don't beat yourself up if you see your friends sharing these crazy schedules that have time blocked every minute of the child's day and you aren't operating at that level, because it's brain based and it's personality based. And that doesn't work for my brain. And it doesn't even work for my brain in the work world, let alone raising my kids. So it's important to realize that, like, when you're choosing to, when we're all, none of us probably listening to this podcast that are in the quarantine situation who had a child in the public or private school system, we chose as parents to have our children traditionally educated. So this is like a whole new world that we're navigating. And it's a world where we didn't make that choice. And many people are like, if I wanted to be a teacher, I would have chosen to be a teacher, but I didn't. And now you're, as Melissa said, you're thrust into the role of yet another hat on your head. You know, now you are probably feeling like you're an unending snack machine. You know, I saw a really funny meme. Did you see the meme, Melissa, where it was like, I didn't factor the 75 snacks a day into my quarantine grocery shopping? Like, the snack
Oh,
is out of control.
no, I did not. Um, yeah, our kids, they haven't been that bad, but we have imposed on them, like, you are not allowed to have anything without asking first, for the mess factor for
Oh,
us
yeah.
and the food waste factor. Because that is, like, if you're trying to work, trying being the operative word,
Mm-hmm.
and you have school age kids, like I have school age kids, which, that's a blessing, because I couldn't even imagine trying to work with like a toddler. But for them to be in the kitchen rooting around, making a mess, wasting food, like, this is not the time to waste food. I don't want to alarm my children, but at the same time, we need to go to the grocery store as little as possible, for one, finances, and two, to minimize germs. So no, like, it's not a free-for-all in the kitchen. um Luckily my husband has been home, but he is back to work on Monday, so I've had another adult here while I'm trying to work, so he can at least manage. But if he wasn't here, there's no way I'd be getting any work done, because I feel like the kids are just, they don't understand, but they do.
Mm-hmm.
And more than they need that, education, some kids need that schedule. Like, and like, my oldest is really trying to hammer out a schedule, and I think she needs that security.
Mm-hmm.
But some kids just, at this time, they're going to be clingier. They're going to need extra cuddles. They're going to need extra attention. And we're trying to, like, reframe this so that it's not completely negative for them. Like, oh, we're going to do a million crafts, and we're going to do a million walks, and we're going to do, do you want to pick what we're going to bake? And trying to make it so it's not completely negative. But that is all your time and energy. So if you're trying to work at the same time, you're just, it's not a battle you're going to win. So what I was thinking is that your work expectations need to match up to what's possible. So if you are working from home and you're the only parent there and your children are home, then you need to think about what is actually possible and what isn't possible. And for you to work full-time from home and care for your children and try to school them, that to me does not seem like you're setting yourself up for positive results. It sounds like you're setting yourself up for guilt, for stress, for not being able to put in what you need with your kids or your work. I actually saw one mom who was home with her kids, and she said she had back-to-back video conferences with work. And it made me think, who is making these decisions? Who is making these video conference decisions?
Mm-hmm.
Because could that not be an email? Could that not be an email? So I think that just having honest conversations with your work, and what's possible, what's not possible. um, if you're able to, are you able to cut down on your hours? Is that a possibility? um, Working some hours and getting a work done, being effective and not feeling guilt and stress, is probably more effective than putting in full-time hours and being stressed and being distracted and not getting quality work done? Do you have to work 9 to 5? Can you split that up and do a split? Could you work a few hours in the evening and work a few hours in the morning? Are there those kinds of possibilities there? So my best experience with this, while I've never worked full time with the kids home, was I was working 30 hours with the kids home, which was a nightmare. But what I would do is I would split it between, you know, 3 hours during the day and then 3 hours at night, so that I could work like 9 till noon. The kids would run crazy, and then this is obviously before the quarantine, and then I could take them out for the afternoon. So this would be like March break or the summer. So that was kind of the best way. Another thing that you can think about is it possible to maybe work Sunday afternoon? Put in a few hours Sunday afternoon so that you're ahead going into Monday, and then you're starting so that you would be done basically Friday at noon. So that's another thought, to try to break it up, because working 8 hours and expecting the kids to kind of be on their own or trying to do both, that's just not possible. That's not going to work. Now for me, because my husband's going back to work on Monday, and I don't know how long this is going to last, like I'm not going to be able to work anywhere close to what I was working, and I've accepted that. My kids there's 3 of them, they need my attention right now, especially since what I'm hearing is that the school board's going to get together and start assigning work and assignments and things to be completed. There's no way that I can do that and work anything close to full time. So right now, my focus needs to be on my mental health, my kids' mental health, our physical health, keeping everyone calm. So, I'm not going to be able to be calm if I'm stressed out over meeting a deadline while my kids are running around, throwing Cheetos in the air. Like, it's just not going to happen.
I think it's interesting point you brought up about all the video call meetings. And I think what that's exposing a really big gap in businesses is that many businesses, although they may have allowed people to do some remote work, they probably didn't have the workflow process like you and I are both used to, because we do work remotely and we support people virtually. We both have it in our businesses that we use project management software. So there doesn't have to be a video call saying, where are we on this? Because if you look at the project management software, you can see, because there's the workflow that goes through. So I think that if this progresses longer, hopefully companies will take the time that somebody there can put this all in a project management software board to minimize, because they're actually like, for every hour you're spending having a meeting that could have been an email or could have been a file in a project management document, like that's eating away at their productivity, right? So yeah, I agree with you. Like, maybe if you have to have the video call meetings, have those during the day, because let's face it, as much as that's terrible with kids running in the background, everybody has that now, right? So like, if you have to have those during the day, have those during the day. But if you do have like some other type of work that doesn't require face-to-face interaction, and you're able to build that into your evening, I think that is a brilliant solution to manage this. It feels like the only way to manage it, to be honest.
It's not ideal, but the silver lining could be if more companies can learn and see that remote work opportunities are beneficial for business and beneficial for families. Like, that would be a silver lining, and that could be something that just has to become adaptable in the business world because of how long this could potentially go on. So that would be a bonus. But I mean, this is not an ideal situation. It's not an easy situation, and I think it's important to remind yourself of that you're doing your best, and don't set yourself to an impossible standard. Don't set your kids to an impossible standard, because they're kind of cooped up, everyone's kind of stressed. I would really encourage anyone who hasn't to listen to our podcast on self-care.
Mhm.
It's more important now more than ever. And once you listen to that podcast, you'll know that we're not talking about like getting your nails done or getting your hair done.
No.
We're talking about taking care of yourself because, stress really does horrible things to your body. It really does.
Well, fear and stress
So
lower your immune system, period.
exactly,
So
exactly.
yeah, really focusing on, we'll give you some quick tips now with that is, realizing that moment to moment we have the ability to choose our thoughts, to choose what we're focusing on, and we can move our attention, right? And also it's, what am I making this situation mean right now? What is another interpretation I can make that serves me in a better way? So I find that's really helpful, especially dealing with the kids at home, and yeah, I've just been, making sure that I'm doing the self-hypnosis audios that I like because they relax me, they clear my mind. There's a great one that's free. Insight Timer app is free. You can download that. My favorite one is Jim Fortin's clearing hypnosis session, and you can search his name on there and it is free. And there's many free meditations on there, guided, not guided. And I really feel like, mindfulness is a tool right now that would really serve everyone well because it really focuses on, being present in your body, being present in what you're thinking, and just having that ability to quiet your mind because even when the world around us is, feeling chaotic, we always have the ability to quiet our mind and to choose to feel peaceful. And once we learn how to master that, which takes many years, I'm not there yet, but I at least have the awareness now when I'm choosing when I'm choosing to get into thinking that doesn't serve me or my family. And one of the things was this week I was sharing with Melissa before we jumped on and started recording that, I chose to let the schooling aspect go. I have shared custody with my husband. So Monday and Tuesday this week were my days. And, shit hit the fan this week. Like the reality set in. And I wasn't in the headspace to figure out what homeschooling was going to look like. So I gave myself grace and them grace to have relaxed day and 2 days. And then next week, we're going to focus on, 3 things. Just choose 3 things in the day that are somewhat educational before the boards implement whatever they're implementing. But, for us, it's reading, um, a little bit of math, but like life skill math, like Melissa mentioned with the baking, cooking, and really dialing into the well-being. And my son, who's 6, actually, I was happy that he just exclaimed this at the table. He's like, "Mama, do you know what the most important things in our lives are? Love." For
Aww.
him to say that out of the blue was really like made me feel good because like currently we're I'm immune suppressed, so we're at home, right? And I'm just like, wow, and that's something that you feel, right? And it's not something that I say to him, but that is one of my highest values. So just knowing like that's my real thing with this is like if this is how we're starting that with him saying that, if we can get to the end of this with that intact and just that sense of well-being, I feel like that will set the children up and ourselves set us up so much further ahead to just have our well-being and mental health like intact at the end of this.
Yeah, the mindfulness would probably be good for the kids too, right? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Imagine setting them up at this age to learn that. Like that's a
for sure. And
gift.
definitely YouTube should probably have mindfulness. Another one that I liked, if you're new to mindfulness, John Kabat-Zinn is excellent. He has lots of resources, and I believe he has some on YouTube as well for free. And I shared an Instagram post, but we could reshare it on our Facebook page because I think it's relevant. But basically, it was, let me just quickly look, so his quote was, "You can't stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf." And so,
Oh, I like
yeah.
that.
So I first discovered him in 2009. I took a mindfulness-based stress reduction workshop and read his book, Full Catastrophe Living, using the wisdom of your body and mind to face stress, illness, and pain. So the very first guided meditation that I ever learned was his, and it's a guided body scan. And so literally, as you're doing the breath work and the visualization, it feels as though your body's melting into the floor and you're very
Oh,
relaxed. So I feel like that would be a good one to start if you're interested in starting mindfulness, or you just want that escape. Because I feel like, at the end of the day, a lot of people are probably having trouble shutting their minds off, right? Thinking and thinking and thinking. So this is one that's really nice to do at the end of the day. This one's a bit longer. It is about 45 minutes. So like after your kids are in bed, you're lying down, you can do it, and just you can let yourself fall asleep. Technically, you're not supposed to, the idea of meditation is not to fall asleep, but I always struggled to stay awake during this. And I think, whatever makes you sleep better, why not right now? So
yeah. Yeah,
that will
because
link
sleep
up.
also helps the immune system. And the thing is like I've seen a lot of like jokey memes on Facebook about like, oh, like I'm just going out for, liquor to last me the week. I've gone like twice this week already or something like that. It's like drinking hurts your immune system, not the best outlet if you can avoid it. So I mean, if we're talking about something that's going to cost money and maybe times are going to be tight versus something that you could maybe try for free that's going to help you to stay healthier,
Mhm.
it just might be a more positive outlet for that stress and anxiety. If you're open to that, because that, I mean, I'm paranoid about things like that where I'm like, no wine, nothing. Like I gotta keep this body. I've been eating the kids' gummy vitamins. I'm like, I'm doing it. I can't. I cannot. It's scary. So, anything I can do to keep myself as healthy as possible makes me feel more in
I
control
think
of
it
the
can be a
situation.
slippery slope too. And when I moved out, I was never one to really like drink a lot. That wasn't really something that I did. But I found when I did separate and get divorced, I did start like having a glass of wine or two. And then I started to sort of unpack, you know, I guess after 6 months of living on my own, like what's behind this? You know what I mean? Like, why am I choosing this right now? Am I doing this just because I want like to enjoy the flavor, the taste, or is there something else? So I found that for me, it tended to be more around not dealing with feelings, like not wanting to feel sad, not wanting to feel the uncertainty that came with, the separation. So I made the choice on Mother's Day, actually. I had like I haven't had wine since or any alcohol since Mother's Day because I was alone on Mother's Day, and like I was just drinking wine. I thought like, why are you doing this? And I found like for me, another reason that I stopped drinking was that the mental clarity, I felt very mentally clouded, even though I would have one or two glasses of wine, not even every night, but I found that whenever I did, I'd feel very mentally cloudy the next
Mm-hmm.
day. And I thought, I don't want to feel like this anymore. So, like, for me, I just, chose to like look at what was behind that, and yeah, so I guess it'll be almost a year in May, but I don't miss it. And I think I'm glad, that I stopped doing that. And I do lean into the mindfulness tools because like I can only imagine now, like,
Right.
what would I be? Because now you just think like, well, shit, are we at a resort right now? Like, I've seen posts from people and it's like, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's okay because we're not going anywhere. So yeah, just like, and everyone makes the choice for themselves, whatever works for you. But then, sometimes it's good to just ask yourself what's beneath the behavior. Like, what's the
Yeah.
what's underlying that. But yeah, I'm with you. And also too, like you said, it does lower your immune system. And knowing that I already am immune suppressed because of the medication I take, it just didn't really feel like the right thing for me to do anymore. So it was easy to stop because it was for, mental health and physical health for me. So that's a good point, because I don't think a lot of people think about that it does suppress the immune system.
Yeah, that, and a lot of people are also facing, maybe financial and budgetary tightness that they never had before because they've gotten laid off unexpectedly, or they're not able to work, their hours have been cut down or whatever. And it's like, when you start looking at those numbers, like for me, like alcohol is like the first thing you could cut out. It's totally not necessary. So you also have to think about it that way. Every time you're going out to buy that, you're also risking yourself again. So to me, it just makes sense. But it is like people are so stressed and anxious right now. I understand the feeling that you need it, but
Mhm.
maybe trying one of these other options could help with that.
Mhm. Yeah, and seeing maybe what that brings up. Like the more, you add something to your practice, like when you add new tools, sometimes other ones fall away.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure. And I do like the idea of introducing the mindfulness to the kids too, because they're feeling it. Like even my guys, like they know something's up. And I do try to minimize, like we don't have cable, like we don't have TV, we have like Netflix, so they don't see that much in the news. But if we're in the car, like I don't want the news on. I don't want them to hear what's going on. Even for myself, like minimizing Facebook, it's just I don't think I think you need to find the balance between staying informed and getting and keeping it so that you're not just getting inundated with all this negativity and scary stats and things like that, because I don't think that's not helping anybody. You need to be informed to make the right choices, but at the same time you don't want to kind of promote a state of fear.
well, and I think you bring up a good point around boundaries. Like we have to set boundaries in our life, and some of the boundaries that need to be set are around social media, you know, choosing, and I think we talked about this in the self-care too. So choosing
Yeah.
who we're following, who who we're following, what we're reading, what we're watching, and making those conscious choices, and then also choosing to set the boundary or limit around how many minutes per day are you going to choose to watch, because some people just tend to share and share and share those statistics, and it's just like, I don't want to see that. So I think I unfriended like about 50 people,
Yeah,
and I was
well,
just like, I know, I'm just like, go big or home, go home. But you know what? I just thought now's the time, right? Now
I guess my
cleanse,
sister.
cleanse it. That's
Yeah,
right.
I don't know. Like, my sister has an app that like counts the death tolls, and I was like, you need to uninstall that. That's insane. And she's like, oh no. Like, and I was like, that's the kind of stuff I can't have. I can't know. I don't want to know. Like every couple of days, maybe I need to stay informed, but I cannot know.
But
Or like,
interesting. A doctor that I know mentioned this. He's like, again, and you and I are both in marketing, so we know everything's bought and sold. We can reframe it any which way we want, right? We know that. But here's the thing, like this doctor was saying, like, you know, don't give your personal power away to this. Like, don't leak your energy with this. Because he's like, if we had a running total of car accident deaths, if we had a running total of the flu deaths, if we had a running total of so many people die every day, way more than of this. Like, yes, do we need to stay home and flatten the curve and do our part? Absolutely, we do. But yeah, staying in fear and counting the death toll is certainly
Crazy.
not going to help you. And that just
No.
puts you in fear. And when you're in fear, you're giving your personal power away, right? And that's not a place that you can support your family, support your relationship with your spouse or your partner, your friendships via remote. Like, you want to stay healthy in your mind, healthy in your body, as you said. And and part of that is all of these tips that we mentioned, like, setting the realistic goals for what can be accomplished during the day for yourself and your children, understanding that if you were truly homeschooling or unschooling your children, they would be part of a community. You would not be schooling them 6 hours a day. Understanding the importance of self-care. We're going to hook up the mindfulness tips for you, those YouTube links. Setting the boundaries on what you're consuming, watching, reading, social media, who you're following, and just really putting it in that container of well-being, that all of the choices, if you were choosing right now to be someone who is healthy in their mind and body, what choices would you make during your day? Like, be that person now. You would be managing your thinking. You wouldn't be like, you wouldn't be in the fear, because we can't create anything in our life when we're in fear. It's a waste of time and energy. And our kids, we need us first. Like, you have to, like, that's why we made Your Motherhood Matters, because you matter. Your motherhood matters. But yeah, pouring into yourself, and that self-care episode is great. So definitely
It,
take a listen.
it
But
is
yeah,
such a good
that's where
one.
it starts. It starts with the self-care for you, and then, laying these boundaries and the framework for your work and what that's going to look like. And realizing that, your family situation is unique, and there's no need to compare it on Instagram or Facebook or anywhere, really.
Yeah, like dial all that back and also like think about what you want to do with this unique time. And for me, like, because, I'm choosing to take advantage of this time with the kids. And, you know, it could be a time where they look back and we make a lot of great memories. They're going to be different kind of memories. Like, for example, so Easter's coming in 2 weeks ish, 3 weeks ish, and there is no Easter. Like, there's no going to grandma's or anything that we normally do for Easter. So my husband and I were talking to the kids last night. We're like, well, what do you want to do for Easter? And we were talking about, like, I think we're going to do a scavenger hunt, we're going to do an egg hunt, but then we were talking about Easter dinner. And my husband's like, oh, I'm going to make a ham. I'm like, no, we're not. I'm like, guys, like, why don't we do what we used to do as a family? Like, when I was pregnant, it stopped when I was pregnant with Emma because I got so sick, but we used to go, Luke and I would each take a kid and we'd do mystery feast the first Monday of the month. He would go grab something, I would grab something, we bring it home, and it would be like, you never know what the other person's getting. So he might get Chinese, I'll get pizza or whatever. So we're like, let's bring it back for Easter, and we'll go out and, like, you can pick one thing, we'll get dessert. So I mean, there is obviously a chance that all the restaurants are closed and we cannot do this, but it's kind of a way to make a really fun memory out of kind of a really shitty situation. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know when we're going to see grandma again. I don't know when, we're not having a normal Easter this year, but we're going to go and do something completely different and make a really fun memory. So hopefully that will stick with it. And when you look back, you think of, kind of like the way we made it fun versus, fear and confusion.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, normally we would split the Easter weekend, but given the situation, because I would travel to my parents, but given the situation, I'm probably just going to say, because it's his weekend, you know, just keep them at your place, because we're not doing anything special. And the whole point for splitting weekends was because there's a special occasion, but why turn them You know what I mean? Why add more transitions than we need to? And that's the thing. Like, I was talking to my mom the other day who, loves doing these Easter dinner traditions. And I just said, Mom, like, we can have Easter whenever. If it's like August or July or whenever it is.
That would be so much more fun to, like, my mom does an outdoor egg hunt, and I'm always like, it's chilly. Like, imagine being able to do it in August when it's hot and it's so fun. Like, that's the
Totally.
same. Like, you got birthday parties coming up. No, they're not happening. But guess what? You might get a pool party this year.
Well, that's
Like,
it. I
gotta
know.
reframe it. That's all you can do is think about, what's the best possible outcome, and you gotta reframe it.
Exactly. I totally agree. Well, I think that's it. We've got lots of great tips to hook up for you in the Facebook page, and look forward to talking to you next time.
Yeah, and guys, we just hope that you guys give yourself a little grace, set some reasonable expectations, and everyone stay well. Until next time.
Well, thank you for listening to this entire podcast. Join the Momversation and follow us on Facebook at Your Motherhood Matters.
Help others by sharing this podcast with your social media channels, and don't forget to leave a positive review. You can hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes.